Here's Laura, new caller, Thurrock. Hi, Laura.
Hi there.
Hi.
I'm calling in as chair of the Thames Crossing Action Group, actually, representing thousands of people who are opposed to the Lower Thames Crossing.
The Thames Crossing Action Group.
That's right. And with some help from Transport Action Network, we've recently uncovered some information that Highways England would prefer to have kept secret a bit longer, in as much as they're actually predicting over 5 million tonnes of carbon emissions if the Lower Thames Crossing goes ahead. And on the topic of pollution, it also fails against World Health Organisation standards on PM 2.5, so those tiny little particulate matters from brake dust and everything, as was sadly mentioned in Ella's case today.
Just for listeners who aren't aware, Highways England says that the Lower Thames Crossing is the UK's most ambitious roads project in a generation, which will add billions to the national, regional and local economies by almost doubling road capacity between Kent and Essex and reducing delays. And you're being told by them, because it's their figures, that this thing is going to add 5 million tonnes of carbon dioxide.
That's right, yes. And we had to push, or Transport Action Network pushed through freedom of information to get this information out of them. They've been trying to keep it quiet. They said that we would find out once the development consent order application was accepted.
But is this 5 million tonnes created by... Is this 5 million tonnes created by the building of this thing, or 5 million tonnes because of the cars that are going to go on it?
It's around 2 million for the construction and then 3.2 for the operations through to 2060.
But in that time, isn't the idea that we're going to be, in electric vehicles, certainly by 2050, if new car sales are petrol and diesel are stopped in 2030?
Well, it's funny because the Prime Minister actually announced a day after we got this information on carbon emissions about reducing the country's carbon emissions by 68%. But when you're talking about adding another 5 million onto that, and with the electric vehicles, you're still going to get the PM 2.5, which obviously are an extremely serious issue, and you get those with electric vehicles.
I get that. They're always going to emit something. But unless we just stop driving, then we're going to have to find a way of managing it.
Well, this is the other thing, Tom. Highways England say at face value that it's actually going to solve the problems at Dartford Crossing by reducing the congestion.
Terrible.
But when you actually look deeper into their figures, it actually shows that the Dartford Crossing will remain over capacity. It's not actually going to make those problems go away. There are better alternatives that we feel that could be put in place whereby they could actually make the air quality much better, because they could filter it with a long tunnel going from around junction 2 to between 30 and 29. It's called option A14.
Oh, right. That's so you've clearly lobbied them to do this.
Well, it was actually one of their ideas. It was one of the ideas that they were meant to be consulting on back in 2016. They were meant to be consulting on location A and C, but they provided a very biased consultation in favour of option C.
Well, they're not here to answer for themselves, but the idea, Laura, just finally, that Heathrow could then build a third runway at some stage in the next, God knows how long it's going to take for them to build it, is what, an anathema? Morally dubious?
I would say that it is about time that the government and those in power start actually putting some action behind all of the talk about wanting to do better for the climate and for our air quality.
To be fair, they have gone a lot further than other countries are doing. It's going to cost the Treasury trillions to make this happen. This net carbon zero by 2050 is going to cost trillions. Individuals are going to have to change their lifestyles in ways that they might not actually consent to in order for that target to be hit. So I think I'm not saying you particularly, but you plural have got to do. There is a job of persuasion that needs to be done here. It's not really, I don't think, acceptable to just go, right, do it.
Well, no, obviously people have their own need to actually take part in this and to do their bit to help reduce the carbon emissions and improve air quality. But at the same time, when we've got a government that are stating that they want to make these moves and reductions, yet on the other hand are then sort of giving the go-ahead for road schemes and things like this, it doesn't really add up. And we're working on a policy on roads that was dated back to 2014, and there's some significant changes that have happened since then.
All right, Laura, well, I wish your campaign well. Thank you very much indeed for your call.